When I first started learning music production 14 kind of years ago, I would find myself sitting at the computer watching tutorials of kind of not really anything specific. I wasn't necessarily seeking out these specific ways of creating certain sounds or how to use specific tools or anything like that. I kind of just immersed myself in this watching of people doing this thing that I wanted to do. I'd watch people make tracks from scratch and I'd see kind of what their process was. And later, I've kind of come to realize that this approach to learning is what has helped me get such a solid and fundamental understanding of not specific tools, but how a general approach to music production and creating music and audio and all that kind of stuff actually works. And what I've realized is that the best and most fastest and efficient way to get better at something technical like music production or audio or whatever it is not to look or not to focus on understanding specific tools, but understanding the concepts and the techniques behind the actual process itself. For example, when I first looked at kind of sound design as a thing that I wanted to start to do, I realized I needed some kind of a synthesizer to work with. And the first synthesizer that I got was Silent One, which is an awesome old school kind of synth plugin, which sounds really fantastic. But I really distinctly remember learning this tool and I was like, what do all of these different things do? Particularly when it came to things like the envelopes, right? I had no idea that these little sliders that were attack, decay, sustain, release, or they're just labeled ADSR. I had no idea what these things did. And I had no reference point for being able to reference these back to synthesizers that I had been using in Ableton Live already. Things like Operator and Analog, which I'd had access to and I'd kind of played around with. But when it came to that, I hadn't put the time into learning the concept of an envelope. Instead, I'd put the time into learning how an envelope works in the specific setting of these specific synthesizers. So when I had to go from translating this kind of graphical idea of an ADSR envelope to this really slider-based idea, I had absolutely no idea what was going on. And so it forced me to actually learn the concept behind what I was trying to do and what I was trying to achieve and what these controls actually did. And then when I opened up another synthesizer, because I understood the concept, I was able to really quickly translate that in my head and go, right, these controls do this thing because that is the kind of typical convention for these types of controls. For an attack, decay, sustain, release envelope, we have these specific stages that work in these specific ways, and that's pretty fundamental across all synthesizers, right? But I have gotten so many students and people asking me about, how do I learn this specific tool? Like I want to learn Serum, I want to learn Wavetable, I want to learn how to use these specific synthesizers, or I want to learn like this specific compressor. And once you've got an understanding of the concepts and the techniques, learning the specifics of the tools is fantastic. But starting at the specifics of the tools really, really can slow you down. Because then if you're met with a situation where you either don't have access to that tool or you need to learn a new tool, all of that knowledge that you've spent investing in that time to learn that specific tool is not going to be helpful. Rather, instead of learning how a single compressor works, learn how compressors work so that you can apply that knowledge of threshold, ratio, attack, release, etc. to the broader spectrum of compressors, so that when you're met with different compressors, you can really quickly understand how they work. And not only that, you can then learn to understand how those specific tools work, the specific compressors work, and in what situations you might want to use, say, this compressor over another compressor, in what situation you might want to use Ableton Live's stock compressor versus Ableton Live's glue compressor versus something like multiband dynamics, right? So understanding how these specific tools work is useful, but only after you've understood how the concepts work across the entirety of the tools. Now, when it comes to actually learning how or about these concepts and techniques, you of course do need a tool to learn these concepts and techniques with. So you do need to have some kind of a tool that you gel with in terms of being able to understand, okay, I'm understanding how this specific tool is working. For me, that was Sylenth 1, right? For me, that was going, oh, okay, I'm understanding this tool, and through learning to understand this tool, I'm now focusing on understanding the broader concepts of synthesis, filters, unison, wave shapes, envelopes, etc. So that then I can translate that to other tools. So I guess in summary, choosing a tool to learn, not focusing on learning the tool, but using that tool as a way of learning the concepts that apply to that broader category of those tools, so that then you can go and understand those concepts really deeply and fundamentally and apply those learnings when you're looking at other tools within that category, so that you can learn which tool is the best for specific jobs, and also what sets certain tools in that category apart from the other ones. What sets Serum apart from Sylenth, apart from Wavetable, apart from Pigments, or what sets, an 1176 compressor apart from an LA2A compressor, or whatever, right? Understanding the concepts behind how these tools generally work is what will help you be able to understand which tool to use for the job, and will be able to help you to really skyrocket your potential when it comes, and your potential and your learnings when it comes to just increasing your skills in music production. And this goes beyond music production as well to basically all facets of life. If you understand the concept, then you can use that concept to really quickly and efficiently help you to figure out the best tool for the job. That's kind of my little rant over I thought this was an interesting idea to help you out when it comes to figuring out what to focus on in this vast world of learning skills and tools and techniques. And I guess if you want to learn more about specific concepts and techniques and you don't know where to start because you're just constantly being fed with tools, reach out to me and I'm happy to help you out with potential further learnings in a one-on-one or group setting environment. That's all for now. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you learned something. Stay awesome, and I'll see you all in the next video.